Well, welcome back, friends. We've had an amazing summer together doing What's She Doing Here. And by now, Susan Tyner is one of your old friends. She's a special lady. She's coming to us from a special place tonight. So come on back, Susan. Let everybody know what's going on in your life tonight.
Hello, I am not coming to you from Fort Worth, Texas this week. I am coming to you from one of my favorite places in the world in Mentone, Alabama at a girls' camp called Camp DeSoto. If you remember a few times ago, Eden Flora and Susan Woodard and I talked about this camp because we all have worked here. So that I've been working here as a head counselor, and they let me come do this little Zoom call from a nearby location.
I love it. That's so great that, you never get too old to go to camp, apparently. That you can
No.
just still put on your rain boots and just muck around in the dirt. Is that kind of what you're doing this week?
With all the rain we've been having, I'm definitely getting muddy, which is new for me. I usually try to stay clean.
And yet you wrote a study about messiness. So, like, there's a big contrast there. Yeah?
There is. All my messy is internal and messes I create, not messes I walk in because God reigned.
Oh, yeah. So tonight, the theme of our evening is from messy to magnificent. And those of you who are going along in the study with us, we have reached near the end of the study. We're in the book of Luke, and we're talking about Mary for the last 2 weeks. And we'd love for you to comment tonight where you're listening in from. I'm seeing people like Laura Laetti and Megan May and Heather Hunt. And I love how you're talking to one another. And Robin Tristad and Christina Fox and Eva Marie Gugino and Susan Hunt's here tonight. What we'd love for you to comment on tonight is maybe one of your takeaways that you've had from doing the study together. One of the things that was exciting to me today was I got an email from a woman who said, "I've loved doing this study so much. I want to share it with my friends. Can we do it in the fall?" And I want to let you know, for those of you who are listening, you've been going to our pcacdm.org/messy site all summer long to get to the content. And that content's going to stay up for the foreseeable future. So please share it with your friends. Absolutely. You can do it at your own pace. Obviously, the books are available, but share what you've learned, and maybe we will see other churches that will begin using it in the fall. So begin to comment there. We're going to give away 4 Bible studies tonight. Things maybe that you can think about doing in the fall. I often get asked about recommendations for Old Testament resources, New Testament resources, things that you can study like a book together, and resources for young moms groups. So tonight we're going to give away an Old Testament resource, a brand new study from the book of Isaiah from Sarah Ivel, who's another great Bible study author. You're going to get a chance in just a second to meet Chris Gordon, who works with Hope Blanton with At His Feet Studies. They've just put out a study, a New Testament study from the book of Galatians that also has a corollary video that goes along with it. We're going to give away tonight Freedom to Flourish from Elizabeth Garn, which is a great book understanding what it means to be an image bearer of God. Elizabeth has put together a leader's guide, a discussion guide for free for you to download, to maybe have a book club together. It'd be a great thing to do not only in your church, but in your neighborhood. And then we're going to give away to the young moms out there, Risen Motherhood. I've had a chance to serve with Risen Motherhood for the last couple of years, and they've written a great book that shows you how the gospel applies to all of life, including potty training and what it means to see yourself being made in the image of God, and what does it mean to come alongside your kids so that they understand that as well. And they also have a discussion guide. But enough for presents for now. I'd love for you to meet our special guest. So Carol Ann and Chris, why don't you come along? Thank you. We're glad you're here tonight, ladies.
Glad to be here.
Glad to be here.
All right, Susan, you're a great hinge. So hinge us to your friends. I mean, we're all friends now, but tell us why we're all here together tonight and how you know them.
Well, I love Carol Ann McConey. She was at my church in Oxford, and we we met through church and just had just kind of visited a lot over the years. And when I moved to Oxford, we kept in touch. But if you get to the back of the book, of the Bible study book, you'll see that I thank some people. And one of them is Carol Ann, because during COVID, during having twins and moving, she helped edit my book. And it was when I was really just about to chunk it all. And she and another friend just kind of were the tools God used to keep me from chunking it and to keep on. And it really helped me to have someone she was in my Bible studies back home. And so she knew what I was trying to say if I was not actually saying it well. So that is how I know Carol Ann. And then Chris is a friend that I've never physically been in the same room with, but we have been in the same virtual room, and we know we would be such good friends. And I'm just really honored she's here because her Bible studies with Hope are some of my favorites. And I think they just fit such a niche in the world of Bible studies that I'm just a huge fan. And I love recommending what they do. So when she said she would join us, I was thrilled.
Yeah. You guys both write super accessible studies. I love recommending both of your works. And now for a chance for you to kind of give your moment of rebuttal. So Chris, Gordon, tell everybody who you are and maybe where
Yes.
you're beaming in from tonight.
So I am on the second floor of my house in St. Louis, Missouri, and I just became a fan of Susan. I'm kind of like a fangirl and started a little bit stalking her, so she's really just being generous to me. I'm here with my husband. My 3 kids are downstairs and 2 dogs, which you may hear at some point. And I'm just thankful that I get to keep writing with Hope, who is my co-writer. She's a therapist in San Antonio, and she has gotten to be with Susan in person multiple times, but it's my time. It's coming soon.
Yes.
We'll try to make that happen. That's really good. And we'll link you to At His Feet studies. They've got quite a few. Like I said, we're going to give away the Galatians study tonight. And then Carol Ann, tell everybody a little bit about who you are and where you live.
I am Carol Ann McConey in Jackson, Mississippi now. We moved from Oxford about a year ago. So we have been in a year of transition. I have an 8-year-old daughter and then 22-month-old twins. And most of my time is spent with them. My daughter is here. She's in a school where she's on campus 2 days and at home 3 days. So my time is spent with them. With Susan, I know her well. She was kind just to say she knew me from being in her studies, but she really helped me a lot. God has used her in my life to help me know him. She was probably maybe the first person I was really able to be messy with because she helped me know God used her to help me know Christ and the safety of being messy because of his perfection. And so she has been a big gift to my life, and thankful to be here.
Well, we're so glad to have you. We're inviting you tonight to, in the chat column, to give us a little glimpse into what God has taught you through what she's doing here. I'm seeing one down here that says, I love that God used Tamar to prick Judah's heart to return to obey to God's way. Let's see. Another person said, we're planning this year's Bible study. So much fun and hard. There's so many good things to choose from. So she's just making a comment kind of about what I just said. These are rolling up. I'm trying to read them as fast as they go. But take some time to go ahead and put there in the chat what you've been learning, because tonight's a night of celebration. We set out in the beginning of June to go through this study together, and we're celebrating what God has taught us. And so speaking of celebrations, I'd love for us just to chat for a second. Ladies, what is your most memorable celebration in your life? Chris Gordon, what comes to mind when I ask that question?
I would say my wedding, and I know that's a sort of a pat answer, but it wasn't a guarantee. My husband and I have a round 1 and a round 2, and round 1 was real rough, and round 2 is still going. It's going well. We've been married 17 years, but between 1 and 2, he literally moved to Africa, and he would tell you to get away from me. So it was not a guaranteed thing that would happen. So that celebration was a real big deal.
That's great. Well. So something that went from messy to magnificent, and it happened on your wedding day is what you're saying, right?
That's right. Yes.
Okay. And you got the pictures to prove it. Oh, yeah. Well, right. How about you, Carol Ann? What's the best celebration you've ever had?
I guess what comes to mind first is wedding, just in terms of, the number of people there, family and friends. But when I think about most memorable now, a celebration I like to remember a lot it was Christmas morning 2019. So right before COVID hit, before we moved, our twins were here. It was just kind of our first little holiday together with our whole family here. Warren and I, our little family had been through some hard years, and that morning was just kind of an Ebenezer morning of what God had brought us to, and And just it was just one of those that there was a lot of thankfulness there, and it's one that I want to remember. I don't want to forget that one. And it was simple. We were in our pajamas. There was nothing fancy, but it's one I'm really grateful for. And it was just a sweet time of celebrating Christ and just what He had done. So that's one I want to store in my head well.
I love that. I love the fact that you brought our attention back to the idea of Ebenezer. So maybe it wasn't the stacking of stones. Maybe it was the stacking of wrapping paper and boxes, which I don't know about you, but like, I guess with twins that age, you're like, why do we even buy presents, right? I mean, like,
I don't think we did.
Yeah, well, you got the paper, the boxes. It's like, why do we spend the money? That's what I used to think. How about you, Susan Tyner? What's your most memorable celebration?
This is going to make, well, I'll be honest. The thing that popped to mind was when my mom and dad threw a Peter Pan birthday party for me. And I was 6, maybe 5. And I still remember and was dressed up. Everybody wore costumes. I was Wendy, of course, in my blue nightgown, as was my sister. And they took a huge refrigerator box, which to me was as big as the world, and made a pirate ship out of it so that we could play in it.
Nice.
And that's probably why I love to throw children's birthday parties, because it's a chance for me to play and be creative. But that's the one that comes to mind. I just loved it.
Well, God bless Mr. and Mrs. Thompson that they were like, you know what, we're going to go find a refrigerator box and then turn it into a ship, because we love Susan so much, and I think we probably all done that. Okay, so how about this? What's your go-to treat yourself celebration? Like that's your treat du jour that you are like, if we're going to have a party, this better be there. So how about you, Carol Ann?
Let's see. I'm more savory than sweet on my treats. So generally, it's going to be, I have to have something that's going to be hearty there. Lately, that's become, we do a roasted lamb, because I can stick that, I can make it the day before or 2 days before and stick it in the oven and be done. I used to do more hands-on cooking, but these days with little ones running around, baking something is a gift. And so if we're trying to have a celebration, that's one that we know we can pull off, because it kind of cooks itself.
I mean, when you told us who you were, I thought you were going to say chicken nuggets, but like the fact that you said roasted lamb, I mean, that's like, and
well,
you're
like
saying that's dialing it down, so that's like top shelf to me. But anyway, very impressive. How about you, Chris? What's your go-to treat?
Yeah, I'm also not really a sweet person. And when I think treat, I don't really think like cake or food. I think good gin and tonic. And I don't mean cheap gin. I mean Hendrick's gin. I want some Fever Tree tonic, and I want some lime. That's it.
A mixed drink for
right.
Chris. As she did say,
And
she had
make it
children
well.
and dogs running all around her house. So maybe this all makes sense now. So that it's all you put the whole picture together. How about you, Susan Tyner? What's your go-to treat?
My go-to treat, and this would round out a pretty good meal with your gin and tonic and Carol Ann's lamb, is Oreo Blizzard. I love like an Oreo shake. Like if I am really celebrating, my husband knows, like, do you want me to go to Dairy Queen? Do we need to go to Dairy Queen home? Or wherever has the Oreo frozen concoction that's nearby.
How about that? Like, I mean, you're really easy to please. If all Lee has to do is go through the Dairy Queen drive-through, then that's pretty low maintenance, if you ask me.
I'm a cheap date.
Super impressive. Well, for the Hodges, we just had our birthdays, this celebration this past weekend, and our children and their spouses came. And so when we think about go-to treats, it's barbecue at our house. So we had smoked brisket that Chris made. We had pulled pork. And now Chris is taking it up a notch in our house with a really, what I call a Cadillac ice cream maker. It's something that Cuisinart makes that sits on the counter, but it chills while it makes it. And so we made 3 kinds of ice cream. And we have homemade peach ice cream, because we just, actually, Chris and I it's the taste of summer in our house today. We just bagged up and froze, I don't know how many pounds of peaches today, but because this is where they grow them. Homemade strawberry ice cream, and then we tried a dark chocolate peanut butter swirl ice cream. So we feasted at the Hodge house, and so that's what it looks like. So we got a little savory and a little sweet going on anytime we have any kind of people around the table. Well, let's talk about what it looks like to cultivate a culture of celebration in the church. I think we live in a world sometimes where maybe we want to rush past what God is doing. And we've been talking a lot about God moving things from the messy to the magnificent. So, in your opinion, Chris Gordon, what are some of the things that we can do to kind of cultivate a culture of celebration, whether it's in the church or in the home?
Yeah, I was thinking, how at the CVS there's the whole greeting card aisle? I was thinking we need a second aisle of different kinds of greeting cards. So, yes, we need the congratulations on your new job, but we also, for those of us who are believers, we also need the hey, congratulations on curbing your gossip by the power of the Spirit. You're different. Where's that card? Or like, we need the get well soon card. Yes. But we also need the I see you growing in this chronic physical suffering. I see it, and this is where I see it. I think part of what we do for each other, because they're cultural cues, right? The cards. So we celebrate Mother's Day and all these things. But part of what we do for each other as sisters is we call those things out. We can name them in each other when we're in a relationship and we've known people for a long time. We can name them and say, "Hey, I really see this in you, and we need to celebrate. Let's talk about this. Let's name it for you, and then get the gin and tonic or the ice cream or whatever it is, because the world's not going to tell you to celebrate those things, but we live in the upside down kingdom and we need to, because they're big deal."
I love it because what you're talking about is what we talk about all the time here is unpacking the content of the gospel in the context of community. And we're talking about being able to say, I see this, I hear this, I want to acknowledge this so that people feel seen, known, and loved and also celebrated. So I don't know. I think in your sanctification card line might have a future. I don't know, but like maybe somebody who's out there who wants to get into the sanctification card line to develop that, I'd buy some. I think it's a great idea. How about you, Carol Ann? How do you think we can cultivate a culture of celebration in the home or the church?
See, when I first hear that, it makes me feel tired because it makes me feel like I need to go do more and or have more gatherings or things like that. But I appreciate what Chris was saying about how our celebration's different than the world. It takes me to an invitation we got a few weekends ago. It was just middle of the day Saturday. Our plans were kind of set for the day, but I had a friend text and say, "Hey, do y'all want to come over for a hymn sing? It's something we do quarterly. You weren't on our regular list, so I'm last minute. I'm sorry." And it was one of those things where I'm like, normally I'm like, oh, that's going to be exhausting to go somewhere. But I thought, no, this is actually a life-giving celebration I'm being invited to. So it was kind of one of those we were like, well, yeah, we're going to jump in the car and go to that because it's a life-giving one. And on the way, one of my children got sick, so I wasn't able to go. I had to turn around and go back home. But my husband and daughter went, and it was a gift, and it was a reminder just that the ways God has taught us to celebrate Him are life-giving. And I think I'm in a season where a lot of my celebrations, I need to lean into what the church is giving us already, the work they're doing, and even hosting worship on Sundays. Our worship is a celebration. And just kind of we seek to make Sundays our celebration day. That's usually the day that we're going to have people over for lunch, and we try to make it, have something fun for the kids. We have Sundays, little, ice cream buffet. But just trying to remember that that the things we do are celebrations, even when we can't muster up doing anything big or don't have the creativity to come up with a card. I love that idea, Chris. Sometimes it's just being able to walk in the door at church and know that a lot of work has gone into creating a celebration for us and letting us just have our hearts in the posture of being ready to receive that and just enjoy the good news that we hear there.
I love that. The opportunity to, whether you have a hymn sing in a home or a hymn sing at church, singing the lyric of the gospel over each other's lives is one of the ways that we get a chance to celebrate every week. And Susan Tyner, how about you? What do you think about creating this culture of celebration?
Well, I do love to throw a party. But I never like to be the object of the party. Like, I feel like I want to plan the party and go to bed during the party. That's my sickness. But one of my favorite ways to create that in the church is like we have community group leaders, and I just love, like I love them coming in the door empty-handed, because they give so much of planning things every month, probably 2 or 3 times a month. And for them to walk in empty-handed and be able to say, and it was really fun for me to plan that for them. That I think things like that, where we can encourage our church leaders and volunteers, especially, maybe it's a text after someone teaches Bible study for the first time, going, that was really great, or I love this point you made. Maybe it's someone who has one of those gifts that is not very visible, but you've seen how they've maybe served in children's church, or maybe it's a deacon that is constantly there and just under the radar, but is definitely making sure there's toilet paper, or they're greeters. I mean, there's so many little parts that are so important in the church. And I think anything from obviously, Chris is going to have a new card line out soon, so we'll buy that, or a text, or a fancy little drink at a leadership party, just to say, we see you, we celebrate how God's using you and our church body right now.
Well, it is one of the amazing ways that God uses the body, and we get a chance to image him as we say, God, would you take my eyes and let me see, take my ears and let me hear, take my hands and let them serve, and my feet and let me move towards people, and be able to appreciate, is what I hear you saying, how God is working in people and through people, and not let those moments go by, because that's one of the things that really builds up the body. We get a chance to celebrate how God is transforming, which is radical. When we talk about the word transformed, the metamorphosis, the ugly, caterpillar to the butterfly, radical changing from messy to magnificent. It's something that is worthy of his glory and of celebration. So I'd love for you tonight, Carol Ann, why don't you start us off? Do you have something in your life where you can just celebrate for just a minute and give God glory, how he's moved in your life something from being messy to magnificent?
Well, I'll go real short term and go back to this past Sunday afternoon. Um, we had some friends over for lunch, and my daughter, there was just an accident with the tree swing, and she ended up with a concussion, some memory loss, and so ended up being a really stressful day. There were hours in the ER, and there's obviously not a fun day. But the friends we had over, it was sweet to see the body. I think especially after COVID, the isolation we've all felt, for us moving and being in a new community in a time where it's hard to build community, seeing the family we were with help and love on Eva and speak truth to her so that I could watch her and observe her. And then just having them reach out to others in our church, asking for prayer, and just to see a new church body come around us. And through those little texts, through the little checkings on, just knowing that, I guess the first time here really being held by a new church body was, that's a wonderful thing. And I think it's become more beautiful to me through the isolation and through the move. So it wasn't a fun day, but it's still one that we look at and we were like, it was a rich day. Because God's just good in that way, just in the way He loves us through that.
Well, and what strikes me about your story, Carol Ann, is that these people met you in your mess.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Whether it was a skin knee or a boo-boo, they helped pick you up. And that's one of the great privileges that we have as we do life together. How about you, Chris Gordon? Any messy to magnificent moments in your life?
There are so many, Karen Hodge. I was thinking, I think, big picture, one of the ones that I keep coming back to because I keep having to live with it is my struggle with depression. I've struggled with depression since I was a kid. I remember probably 10 or 11 years old. I've had multiple kinds of treatments you've probably never heard of. I've been in and out of it in really bad bouts where I couldn't get out of bed, couldn't take care of my kids, couldn't go to work, to times when I don't really deal with it at all. I think I'll probably deal with it till I die. And one of the things that has become so clear to me over the years and becomes clearer the older I get and struggle on and off with clinical depression is that God has, I will never call depression magnificent or good in any way, but God has made the hope of the gospel, and in particular, the hope of the resurrection, so incredibly real to me. I think about it every day because
Mm.
of the brokenness that I live with, and because it has affected so much of my life. I hang on that hope. I love to teach about it. I write about it. I talk about it. And it has become this sort of like hum in the back of my head. And that kind of hope in a dark place is radiant. And um it's so full of life. And that is magnificent that he could make the hope of the gospel so real through such a dark place.
Well, thank you for sharing your story, Chris. And it takes great courage to talk about the thorn that God's entrusted to you, and yet um, seeing your perspective that in this now and not yet that we live in the brokenness of the fall, where that tragic intrusion of death touches every part of our life, how can we live with hope is we live in light of eternity. We are looking forward to that great resurrection when we will be reunited with Jesus, and that gives us hope to get up the next day. And so the magnificent, we see it in moments, but we long for it when it will come in its consummation. And so we're leaning towards the magnificent consummation at the end. At least that's what I heard you saying, and that gives me great hope
That's
to
right.
think about getting through the rest of this week myself. How about you, Susan Tyner? Any messy and magnificent moments that you didn't write about in the book that you want to go on and share with us tonight?
Oh no, sometimes I gotta hold back, protect the innocence. But I will also say that when I was diagnosed with cancer about 5 or 6 years ago, it was one of those things. It wasn't a horrible cancer, but it was enough to where I paused and went, okay, well, I see my daughter get married, and that was like a new thought. Like, what? I'm not going to have the life I thought I was going to have. Like, there's another script. And in that moment, I feel like it was okay. It was okay. And then fast forward to after my surgery for the cancer, and my body was not my own. And I remember being so sick and I had no control over my body. I had to stay near MD Anderson, so I wasn't in my house. I was totally out of control, and I love control. And that free fall feeling, I don't know, it reached a muscle in my faith that it needed, obviously exercising, and even identifying that it was even there to exercise. And that was a quite messy, that I would say now, every now and then that muscle has to kick in, and God he did it. He did that. I would have never done that.
Yeah, there's muscles we don't even know we have until God places us in those. And let me just say, Susan, I met you right before that happened in your life. And as your friend, I have seen God walk you through that. And I actually think that a lot of what we're experiencing this summer in the content of this book is the
Mm.
redemptive stewardship of how God walked you through that and deepened your faith and took you to his word when we had a lot of unknowns in your life. So thank you for being willing to steward that. I want to say that publicly tonight. Thank you for writing the study. I know that as we've been talking, women have talked about how they've loved going through it. This Joy says, God bless you for this study. May God fill us women with the Holy Spirit to continue serving him like Ruth, Naomi, Rahab, so we can witness others and bring glory to him. I celebrate the way God has used not only this book, my lung cancer to show others how followers of Jesus can still have joy, peace, and contentment, and even in our trials and tribulations. I love the fact that God is doing his work in his way because we've placed ourselves under his word. And he has done the transformative work. So thank you so much, Carol Ann and Chris, for being with us tonight and sharing your insights with us. I hope there is a great celebration in your near future, whether it's, I don't know. I mean, you can fill in the blank with however you want to celebrate. So, but whatever that looks like, thanks for being with us tonight.
Glad to be here.
Thanks so much. All right. So Susan and I have got a little giveaways to give to you. We've got some winners. Let me pull them up real quick. So Let's see. So I've got Stephanie Newberry. You're going to take home tonight Sarah Ivel's Bible study. Isaiah will have that sent to you. You said, excellent study that God used to convict my heart to seek him as enough. Thank you, Susan, for this study. And then Pat Gerard, you're going to get to win Chris Gordon and Hope Blanton's brand new Galatians study. And she talked about how her group is also, along with what she's doing here, doing Susan Hunt's spiritual mothering. And this study, and you said here, older women need to step up. I like your challenge there, Pat, and pour their wisdom into younger women. So we'll get that in the mail to you, Pat. Let's see, and then let's see, Sue Hahn, we're gonna send you "Freedom to Flourish" by Elizabeth Garn. And your comment tonight that won you this prize, you said, love this reminder of celebrating not the ways of the world, but in God's love and in God's truth. And then the comment that I just read from Joyce, God bless you for the study. May God fill us women with the Holy Spirit to continue serving him, just like Ruth, Naomi, Rahab, so we can witness to others and bring glory and praise him. I'll have Risen Motherhood sent out to you this week. So whether it's for you or a young mom in your life, we'd love for you to pass that along. Susan, thank you so much for going on the journey with us this summer. It's been a great joy.
I loved every minute of it.
It's been a fun ride. We have much to celebrate. You'll receive one other email from me this week, kind of a wrap-up email. You get the one on Friday with the content, and then one more email from me. And in that email, I'm going to suggest some things to follow up. We'd love for you to continue to stay in God's Word and engage in community as you study it together. So I'm going to be suggesting some fall studies. We'd also like to invite you, when you get that email, to our leadership training, our annual women's ministry leadership training, which is going to be next February 24th through the 26th in 2020. I got all my twos mixed up. It's called Vitality, Cultivating the Inner Life of a Leader. It'll be in Atlanta, Georgia. We'll have the link to it in that email. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a lot of fun, and we will look forward to seeing you the next time we try to pull one of these things off again. We'll talk to you later. Have a great night.